Okay, now today we will begin discussing making a poppet, which is a type of sympathetic magic, working on the idea that what is done to a sample of a person or a part of a person then affects the larger person. That's why you use a lock of hair, DNA sample, or something like that. Interestingly enough, quantum entanglement through quantum physics has actually proven this theory recently, in that they've taken atoms from that were connected, took them apart, and separated them, and what they did to one set of atoms affected the other. So, there's atoms in your hair, they're attached to the atoms in the rest of your body, same type of link. Now, it's not always possible to acquire hair or nail clippings or something like that from a person. Now, if the person, is a willing person, is a willing target, that's pretty easy, because poppets, voodoo, that type of thing, they're not always negative. In fact, most of the poppets that I've made are for protection spells for people that I care about during times that I felt they needed extra protection. Now, if for some reason you can't get the sample, hair, nail clipping, something like that, you can actually just write the person's name and birthday down on a piece of paper and use that on the inside of the poppet or voodoo doll. In this case, we're making a poppet out of thread. And I'm sure you've noticed I have a few more candles, stuff like that burning. I also want to start talking about the theater of spellcraft. It's a very important part of spellcraft. As I have discussed before in the guild, the first law of sorcery is belief imparts reality. So the theater of spellcraft, ritual, if you want to call it that, helps you create that belief. There's an aesthetic to casting a spell. The more you can conform to the aesthetic, the more it actually pulls into the weave of the pattern. There's a lot more to the law of aesthetics, but we'll get to that a little bit later. But for now, what's important about that is that's why we do ritual, that's why we burn candles, have smoke, that type of thing, to set an atmosphere. In the right atmosphere, spellcraft is easier to believe, it's easier to practice, it's easier to pull up energy. Because your mind believes it. You're brought into the proper mental state. Okay, now I guess this is going to be kind of a long video because we haven't even got to the poppet yet. Okay, so how this works. In this case, I actually don't have anyone I need to make a poppet of at the moment. So we're just going to assume that I have the person's full name written down on this piece of paper and their birthday written down on this piece of paper. I'm going to do with that example. You could do a lock of hair or anything. You can actually do this with just the yarn. But what you do is you then roll up the piece of paper. This would be the one with the name on it. I like to use, if I do this method, I like to use the name for the torso. One of these will be the torso, and the other will be the arms. Now, if you didn't have something like this, actually no, you're always, if you had a lock of hair or something like that, you would just do several loops and put the hair in with the loop, and you can actually do loops for the arms, put some of the hair across, some down, doesn't really matter, as long as it gets in there. So you'd wrap around, you put the lock in there with these, and you'd twist around, but we don't have to do that because we are using this as our sample. You could do this to the lock of hair if you have enough. Start wrapping like this. Get nice and wrapped up. This one probably won't be as fancy as some of the other ones I've done because we're already at 4 minutes. So, there you go. There's the torso. You just wrap this around. Just keep wrapping tight as you can. This would be what you, like I said, if you had hair or anything like that, you'd be using that instead. Okay. Now, we're actually going to want feet. So we're going to want a couple of these down here like this after all. Hold on. Okay, at least 3 or 4. You want enough that there's enough to divide afterwards to make the legs. I didn't mean feet, I meant legs. Okay, put that together. Wrap that around so that's good and tight. Everything wrapped good. Best not to have everything in a tangle, but it's just me. So, keep going along. You're going to want to make a big ball for the head. If you have enough sample, it's nice to have a sample to use for the head. You know, like a little ball of it. Ball of hair. Great place for the nail clippings is in the head here. Get wrapping faster. Okay. Now, at this point, you're going to want to tie a knot after you've got the head, leg parts ready, and the torso. You're going to want to tie a knot. Don't worry about getting the whole. You want to tie a knot, just a simple knot, like a Celtic knot. Loop. Pull the string through. A lot of string. Maybe don't use so much string. And bam. Nothing that looks like this here. Okay. Now, the other piece of paper. Like I said, this would be the name. This would be the date of birth. The way I would do it if I was using this too. It doesn't really matter. As long as they're both in there. If you have hair, you'd be crossing the hair across the other way. Now, you put that on to the doll, wherever the arms would be. And you start wrapping again. Now, you can actually bind someone in a very similar manner, but that's not what we're learning today. This spell here isn't necessarily bad or good. Like I said, you could use this for anything. How a poppet works is that it creates, besides the sympathetic magic, it is creating a form for your spell to target. It is creating a form for your target. And that helps appease the law of containment, which we will get into at a later date. But what the law of containment basically means is that you need a vessel for your spell to work. In this case, here you go, here's your form. Okay, so now we've got a head, arms, we still need legs. If you had more sample to work with, you could actually put sample for the legs. Or if you aren't feeling ambitious, you could actually just leave it like a skirt, especially if it was a female that you were targeting. Okay, so now you're at this point. I goofed up one of the loops, but that's easy enough to fix. You just put it back in. Wrap it a few more times. You want to get these wraps nice and tight. Each one cinched down. Because if you screw up here, your legs are going to go wonky on you. You don't want your legs to go wonky. Okay, one leg at a time, obviously. It's like pants, right? Put on your pants one leg at a time. Wrap, wrap, wrap. And just keep twisting. You're holding the one piece there, and you're wrapping this around it. You got to kind of hold it like this. Oh, hold on. Trying to show you I screwed up. You hold your fingers with this part, other part of this part, and then you leave your thumb out so that you can wrap it around. Or you do it like this. You just got to hold this tight and wrap it at the same time. So you hold it with your fingers, and hold the other part with your thumb, and wrap. If you wrap this tight enough, it won't even matter that there's nothing in there besides the yarn. When you get to the foot, wrap it good a few more times around the foot. And then you actually have to wrap again when you come back up each leg. That's what makes it actually stay stiff, is that the wraps are going up and then back down. See, it's twisting against itself at this point. And that makes the leg stay stiff. And that's why this could work with just yarn and a little bit of hair. Even a couple strands. You can do it with just yarn. A lot easier if you have something to put in there, though. Okay, now the other leg. Same thing. Wrap, 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 wrap. I'm going to speed this up because this isn't really for anybody. It's just being made. Okay. Now, if you're getting impatient, you can actually double over the last little bit of the foot. Or if it's longer than the other one starting to get longer than the other, you just double over what's left. And start wrapping again. So you have the nice little foot piece, and then you go back up, just like the other leg. And you wrap and you wrap. This is the longest video we've done yet. Okay, almost done with the leg. Voila. There's kind of your little guy, but he doesn't look very structurally sound to me, so we're going to pull this leg out like that. Now we're going to wrap around here tighter again a few times where it's down past the sample, just to make sure he stays. And then you wrap, and you wrap back up to the body. Tighten it up real good around the neck. It's actually kind of form tight of a neck. And then you start wrapping the head again, so you feel like the head is nice and round. And you come down here back to the neck, and that's where you want to make your final tie, unless you're making a hat on him. But that's more of an art and crafts thing than a spellcraft thing. And voila, Poppet Man, girl, whatever. That is the finished poppet. I will post a pic in the comments. There we are.